AfterBuzz TV, starting place to the likes of WWE female superstars Cathy, Kelley, Sonya, Deville, and Zelina Vega proudly presents Women's Wrestling Weekly, the world's first podcast and YouTube series dedicated exclusively to women's wrestling, featuring all the latest news as well as interviews with top superstars in the industry. And now, AfterBuzz TV's own gorgeous lady of wrestling, TK Trinidad.
Bonjour, you're watching Women's Wrestling Weekly, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet. My name is TK Trinidad, aka the Canadian Assassin, and big shout out to Evan T. Mack, former co-host of the show. He is currently with WWE, doing big things, as he would say, and also fighting crime because he can't give that up. However, that's not going to stop the show. I have an amazing guest host today. He is from Kings County Cooks Inn from Kenya. Please welcome Globito.com.
Hey, what's going on, TK? So glad to be on your show.
And we have a special guest co-host. She hails from the Valley of LA. Please welcome the farmer's daughter, Emily May.
Hey, happy to be here.
This guy's your intro, right? What's up with that?
I love my intro.
Different strokes for different folks, I'm just saying. For you guys who are joining us, this is season 4 of Women's Wrestling Weekly. I am so excited. You watched episode 1 of season 1 to season 4, episode 1. So much has changed thanks to all the co-hosts of the past. You have Gabby, who's moved on to Impact. You have Sarah the Rebel, who's doing a lot of great wrestling stuff. She's also on WOW, which brings me to our current guest. We always have amazing guests because that's just how we do it. She is a WOW superhero. You know her as Princess Ozzy, aka Simone Sherie. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm good. How you doing?
Good. So kind of let's get into it. Unfortunately, I didn't get to see WOW this last time around. I saw WOW the very first time, I think this time last year. And
yeah.
Yeah, so I saw the whole Princess Ozzy thing, and I was like, okay, this is different. I like it. I like the whole setup of everything. Let's kind of go to the very beginning. How did you become a wrestler? What kind of made you want to become a wrestler?
Oh, yeah. So I, along with most other pro wrestlers, watched it pretty religiously growing up. And, you know, it was kind of one of those things where my sister, my stepsister and I, we would do like chores around the house and everything to kind of, you know, have our parents get the pay-per-view for us to watch growing up. Really, really, really big fan. There really wasn't a lot around back in Australia back then in terms of like wrestling schools and stuff. It never really crossed my mind that, oh, I can actually wrestle. I can actually be a pro wrestler. Mm-hmm. It was kind of just a love and a passion that I had, and, you know, just to watch kind of thing. I grew up doing Muay Thai when I was younger.
Nice.
Oh, well, obviously, growing up means you're young. Doing Muay Thai, and eventually kind of transitioned into boxing. And I moved out to LA. It's going to be 5 years in December. And I was actually at my boxing ring, at my boxing gym, and a couple of pro wrestlers walked in, and we ended up just kind of chatting, and they kind of planted the seed in my head. They were just, you know, they're just like, have you ever thought about doing pro wrestling? Like, you know, you're athletic. You obviously love like the physical, the aggression side of pro wrestling, and mm-hmm. And all of that. And, you know, they said you have a good look, etc. So I kind of was just like, oh, and then literally from that moment, on that day at my boxing gym onwards, I just couldn't stop thinking about it. Later on that night, I looked up wrestling schools and just, you know, just thought, why not? Pop it into Google, and a bunch of wrestling schools popped up, and I was like, oh my God. And, you know, I started looking around, looking at any reviews and all of that, and I came across Santino Bros, which was kind of the highest rated. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I kind of didn't know what to expect. I just, at that time, I was boxing every day, and I was working. I managed an all-female activewear brand.
Oh, nice.
So life was really, really crazy. I had like 42 retail stores, so it was just from 6 a.m. in the morning until like last store closed at 11 p.m. at night. And I just kind of took a chance. I showed up one day. They had like a camp thing, and I showed up one day, just paid ahead of time for the term, and just hoped that I could keep up, kind of thing.
Nice.
Didn't know what to expect. First day, it was brutal. It was brutal. I was like at one of my fittest at that point as well. So I mean, I got through it, but kind of like, you know, like the second day, third day, even when we started doing bumps, I was like, oh God, the moment you take your first bump is the moment that you are going to decide whether or not you're going to keep going or not, because you know, you can see someone take bumps and it's just like, oh, you know, it whatever, but actually doing it is very different. You know, throwing yourself down to the ground it's kind of very weird. And the moment I did that, I was just like, oh, I freaking love this. This is really cool. I ended up training for 1 year at Santino Bros in Downey, and had my debut last September. So I've been out in the scene, working the scene for, I just hit 1 year.
Nice.
So all up 2 years. Yeah.
Wow,
which is really cool.
Congrats.
And,
yeah.
I was just really, really lucky, to be honest. Met a lot of really good people. Now, like, I can't see my life without pro wrestling, to be honest, anymore. It really kind of put life into perspective for me as well, because I was extremely lost before I started pro wrestling. And now it's kind of everything.
So from that, how did you get involved with WOW?
Yeah, so I actually kind of just pushed my way, to be honest with you. I actually, they were holding invite-only auditions at Santino's. They just, I guess they hired the ring, and you know, and it was an invitation. And I was actually training in, they have multiple rings, and I was training in one just down a little bit, and I was kind of like, oh, what's going on? And I asked the owner what was happening, and basically just kind of pushed my way in, rocked up inside there, and kind of just, you know, gave them my name, act like it was I was totally meant to be there, and I was invited. And yeah, that's when I met David McLean. He came along to the audition. And it was my first audition in pro wrestling. Oh, wow. I had done a lot of auditions back in the day, so I kind of knew a little bit how to just make it roll, like somehow. But yeah, it was nerve-wracking. We had to get in there, do a promo, all of that, roll around. But yeah, it was fun. So yeah, from then onwards, I a couple of weeks later, I got a call from David, and yeah, he basically just said that you know, he'd like to have me come on board. And so after that, I started. They have a training facility in Long Beach, so I started, you know, going there to kind of get some time in. Obviously, Tessa Blanchard is there, who is one of the best, arguably the best female wrestler right now today. So that was really cool. She helped me a lot down at that training center. And yeah, kind of the rest is history. You went to the first season. Princess Aussie has changed a lot since then.
Nice.
Yeah.
So how did that concept come? Like, you know, obviously people can't tell you're Australian. So, I mean, it's obvious, but you know, just in case you didn't know. Surprise! But how did the concept of, you know, at that, well, you said it's changed quite a bit, but the one I saw was you had the dancers, and I think we had David on the show, and he was telling me the story behind that. Has that changed a little? And how did the origin story come about?
Yes. So Princess Aussie's character has definitely changed a little since the original, when she first debuted in season 1. You'll have to tune in to see, but in really, really cool, weird ways. Weird is the right word there, and you'll understand later on. But when Princess Aussie first debuted, it really came off a backstory. So one time, we were it was after training at WOW, and we were all just having dinner together, and it was the first time that I had kind of like hung out with the girls, and David was there, Selena, who is one of the main trainers, obviously Bambi, and we just kind of got talking, and this is before Princess Aussie had even you know, the character or anything. Like we didn't know where they didn't know where they were going with it or anything. And we just started talking and just kind of telling them a little bit about me. And when I was younger, I actually was bullied. I was in a situation where, yeah. And I mean, I talk about it often now because I think it's something to talk about. I had some situations when I was younger, and not just me, but I saw a lot as well. And that kind of led me into learning how to fight, just how to protect myself. And my mom started putting me in classes, and I really leant towards Muay Thai and really kind of fell in love with that. But there was one day where we were on the bus to school, and this same girl, I was sitting at the very back, and she was just a couple of seats in front of me, and she actually got scissors out, and she grabbed one of my friends, had beautiful long hair, and it was her thing, and she grabbed her hair and cut a big chunk out of her hair right in front of everyone on the bus. And the girl, like my friend, she kind of sat there and she knew what had just happened, and she just started crying, but she was too scared to do anything. She didn't look around. She just kind of acted like it never happened, kind of thing. And so once the bus stopped, I kind of walked ahead of everyone and kind of helped take her away from the situation and took her to the side. And she she started breaking down, and she was just horrified and all of that. Traumatic. And this is someone who had been picked on a lot, so this was very minimal compared to but it was her hair. And and so I just kind of comforted her a little bit, and then the girl who just cut her hair went and stayed a little bit. You guys, I don't know, we call it an oval at school. I think you guys call it like the football field.
Yeah. Okay. Or cricket games.
Yeah. And so she kind of like we were there, and we were just kind of like hiding, and she came over and just around the corner, and all of a sudden I feel something just hit me really hard on the back of my head, and I'm like, and I kind of like straight away I looked down, and a stick fell down to the ground. So I was like, she just threw a stick at me. She just threw a stick at me, kind of thing, and it hit me in the back of my head. I'm going to ignore it, Again, another stick is thrown, and it hits me in the back, and then another one, and it just kind of kept going. And so there was a part of me, like, at that point, that was I just clicked, and I turned into this person who I had never seen before. She'd never come out of me before, kind of thing. And I picked the stick up, and I just turned around, and I just started running at her. And I think my face, like I think I just looked scary. I don't know, but I just had a mission. I don't know, something clicked in me, and she literally started running from me. She just started running, and I started running after her. And that was the first time that anyone had ever, like, parents had put in complaints about this person. Numerous girls had been hurt, had been taken out of school. Parents had made them change schools. And yeah, I ran after her, and once everyone kind of noticed her getting chased, everyone followed me. She went and hid into the bathroom. It was this big thing. And everyone helped. Like, we scared her. We ripped the door off the hinge in the stool that she was hiding in. Right. And she was, up hiding, and and it's not something that I'm proud of, but it was a life-changing thing after that. That was the first time I'd ever stuck up for myself. And that was the first time anyone had ever stuck up for her. Like, I didn't just stick up for myself, I stuck up for everyone else who had she had ruined lives of for years. So after that, it was this big thing, and she was taking me to court. And because I punched her and hurt her, and she took me to court, and basically from there, the entire school got behind me, everyone's parents, every person, and they basically just were like, started putting in, complaints about her and started talking about all the things this girl had done to them and everything. And they ended up dropping the charges, and she ended up moving schools, and she never picked on anyone. She still lived in the neighborhood, but she just kind of avoided everyone and never talked to any of us again. So back to Princess Aussie, I was talking about that story. And at that time, like I was kind of like, as I mentioned, pro wrestling was something that I found when I was lost. I didn't really know where I was going and what I wanted to do. So when I was telling that story, it did get me, like, I was emotional about it. And, and not just because not because it's sad, but because I was proud of myself. And the first thing my mum said to me when we got that call was, "You go, girl." Like when school called her saying, you have to come pick your daughter up, she's suspended, she can't come to school tomorrow, kind of thing. She was like, good on you, kind of thing, because she knew all the stories and she'd seen me the way I'd come home. So so Princess Aussie kind of stemmed from that situation. And basically I grew up in Darwin, and my closest friends, who I call family, they're Aboriginal, and the culture and everything, like, really was something that I grew up around. And it's one of the most beautiful things. And so it was really something like I wanted that culture to kind of be portrayed a little bit in Princess Aussie. Like, I wanted them, I wanted that. I wanted Australia, and I wanted, like, the Aboriginals to be recognized within Australia. So it kind of like stemmed from that. With characters and all of that, it really just it's hard to really grasp something. But that's kind of where it came from.
Oh, nice. That makes sense.
That's great. I can only imagine when you told your network, your friends, your family, like, look, this is my new path now. I'm no longer lost. Was was there some outpouring of support? Was it like, are you crazy? What was that?
It was mixed. It was mixed. My mom is my biggest supporter. I told her first, and she was just like, hell yeah, like, that is you. Like, that is 100% you. Like, because I grew up dancing, I grew up performing, and obviously I love more aggressive sports as well. And she knows me so well, and she saw me, like, I was such a fan growing up. So was she. So she was just like, hell yeah, you're that's so what you're supposed to do. There are friends who are just like, really? Like, but do you really think that you're gonna do well at it? Like, blah, 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 kind of one of those things. But I mean, pretty quickly after they saw me or have seen me wrestle, it's more of they're proud of me and they're happy for me. And it's kind of a different story now that I've started doing things with it.
So you have that's an amazing story and amazing background, and thank you so much for sharing that, because I think there's so many, not just women wrestlers, but just women in general that that go through similar situations, and that's so important to hear that you stood up for people that need it the most. As you're thinking about, as you're building this wrestling brand and you're looking to the future, what are you looking forward to the most in women's wrestling, and looking towards maybe other promotions you might want to be involved in, and because you're celebrating your first year, and that's a huge milestone, but what do you see in the next 3-4 years?
In the next 3 to 4 years, I'm 100% all in. So obviously there are promotions that I'm working towards. I think a big one for me is AEW. That's obviously doing big things. WWE was always the goal, and I'm not, I don't hide that. I'm all for WWE. And, you know, I'll be 100% down if that does come up in the future. In terms of, you know, what I'm looking forward for most, it is an insane time in women's wrestling, which you guys know. This is definitely you know, the best ever in terms of opportunities, in terms of you know, eyes, in terms of support, in terms of literally everything. So I think for me, like, I'm really excited to be a part of that. If I could have, like, I wish that I had found it earlier. But it's, you know, I'm on my life's call now, and I'm on the track to it now. That's just when it was supposed to happen for me.
Yep.
But I'm just really excited to be a part of it. I'm really excited to keep creating and keep being a part of something that's literally like history in the making. Yeah.
When you decided you were going to become a wrestler and you did the training, you know how you think of this is how it's going to go, and like you come to your first match and you're like, okay, this is how it's going to go versus what really happened. What can you take us through your first match as far as like, you know, oh, this is not what I expected, or is this what I expected? What was that like?
Oh God. It's definitely not what you expect. My first match, like, so at Santino's, they're really good at, we do a lot of like open ring and just like calling stuff on the fly, obviously with, you know, wrestling. So for me, I can get in my head, I think this is, you know, with anyone, but because I grew up dancing, and, you know, everything was like choreographed, unless we were out doing, you know, a freestyle or whatever, but I toured all of Asia, and everything was, you know, and I actually ended up falling out of love with dancing because it was like that. And so then going into boxing, where everything's really small, everything is, you know, kind of within this area. Then going to pro wrestling, which is the opposite of both of them, it was extremely challenging for me, like extremely challenging. You know, we would be doing drills and stuff like that, where you just, you know, like you've just got someone running the ropes and you're in between, and everything is on the fly. You're having to react and all of that. So like doing those types of drills, I was like, this is going to be challenging, like for me, like, and I'm waiting, like they're coming at me and I'm just standing there like I'm about to punch them, like, and kind of thing, like they're like, oh. So when it came to my first match, I had focused a lot on like those types of things. The things I struggled with, a lot of people didn't struggle with, but I didn't struggle with a lot of things that they did struggle with. So it's just like everyone's different. But when it came to my first match, I was so in my head. I was just like thinking over and over again, like I had no idea how it was going to go, like anything. And I almost cost the match, to be honest. And it was a three-way. It was actually a 2-on-1. My first match was with Viva Van and Heather Monroe.
Oh, nice.
It was them two against me. So not only did I didn't have a singles match for my debut, I had you know, there were 3 of us in there. So yeah, I mean, it was like a minute and a half in, and I almost missed a pin, and it was almost over a minute and a half in. And you know, we had like a 15-minute match that we could, you know, so you know, it's like things happen. I didn't miss it, obviously, but yeah, it definitely, I was really proud of myself after it happened. Like it's such a big like life event. I know it's just like, oh, it's just a match kind of thing, but you know, for me, like I cared, like, you know, I had given up a lot to wrestle, as a lot of wrestlers did or do. So it was kind of like it was in my head, it was like, this is it kind of thing. Can't mess up, can't you know, so you kind of just, my heart was pretty, you know, it was racing pretty fast, but I got through it. I did really well for my first match. Yeah. And I kind of just, you have to get that out the way. Once you get that out the way, you kind of just start finding yourself.
Absolutely. Let's talk about WOW for a second, because I know WOW's been in two iterations of the past 20 years, two different expressions of female wrestling. I know the modern one has a lot more modern sensibilities to its credit. As you being on the current roster, how are you contributing to the new message of what WOW Superheroes means to a new generation?
Yeah, so, I mean, the backstory of Princess Aussie is definitely something that is a talking point for me. Like, and when we go out, you know, we do like events, Comic-Con, and you know, just like random stuff like that. A lot of it for Princess Aussie, and you know, for personally is more about the younger generation, you know, especially young women and girls growing up. So it's really like that backstory, just kind of, you know, talking about it and talking about bullying and, you know, how real it is out there. That's kind of the biggest thing. Kita Crush is another one there as well. So, you know, between the both of us, I think that's like a really strong movement. And it's definitely something that not just within WOW. Like, I think, you know, for me, it's something that I talk about often. And yeah, I think, you know, every character on WOW has their own purpose and has their own story and has their own movement. And I think that's the biggest one for Princess Aussie.
Now, are there any, who do you emulate or who do you look up to as far as wrestling wise?
Ooh, great question. I have to narrow that down. There's a lot, but growing up, like my three, and still my, you know, my three, Rey Mysterio is a big one for me. Lita is a big one for me, and then obviously the Undertaker. All of them for different reasons.
Wait,
but
why is it obviously the Undertaker?
Obviously, yeah.
What was that? Sorry.
Why is it obviously the Undertaker? I mean, like, yes, he's a great. I'm not taking away like
in terms of storytelling.
Okay.
Like,
The entrance.
literally, like this guy can. You don't even need to watch a match, to be honest. Like, from him walking out is done. Like, it's, you know, it's literally like, you know, my favorite thing about wrestling is seeing reactions. Like, for me, being able to create a feeling inside of another human is like really cool.
Okay.
And that's really special, you know. Like, there's been times, you know, where you know, anyone, like, we'll do something and we'll look out to the crowd and like literally they're just like having so much fun and they're so entertained or whatever. Or maybe it's, you know, something where, you know, if someone turns or whatever, and just like creating those reactions is just like the coolest thing. You see fans crying, you see them getting emotional, all of that. I think, you know, the Undertaker is just like, from him walking out to just, you know, walking into the ring, there's so much going on in people's heads, like the energy, the atmosphere, like everything. You know, for someone to be able to do that to, you know, how many people are we talking here? Okay. A lot of people. Like, that's so freaking magical. Like, that's really cool. So he's definitely, you know, someone that
Idol.
Idol.
Storytelling is so huge in wrestling, and you know, you just shared your favorite wrestlers, but do you pull any other storytelling? Like, what are your like pop culture, you know, inspirations that you pull, like these storytelling elements from that you know, go deep, that help you kind of figure out how you're going to tell your story and how you're going to create that character arc and have those big moments with the audience, because that's so important. And so I'd love to know about that.
Yeah, and that's it is really important, and that is something that it's really cool for me to experience myself getting better at it. When I first started wrestling, like, in other ways, like outside of wrestling, I had to kind of create storytelling, like back when I was dancing and I was choreographing, or back when I was managing, you know, over 300 women. that's even another thing on its own. Like when you're creating presentations and you're having to keep them engaged and having to, you know, the entire time, or you know, there's so many ways for you to do that, and not just in pro wrestling. But when I first started pro wrestling, like that was really hard for me because I was so focused on the moves. Like I was so focused on just like not injuring myself or other people, or, you know, stuff like that. There's a lot of things that go on in your mind. But as I started to get more comfortable and more confident with myself, I'm starting to, you know, be able to express, you know, through storylines and stuff like that. I think for me, a lot of it comes from other female wrestlers, to be honest. Like, you know, there are quite a few out there like Ruby Ray's and some others that are just really, really good at storytelling. So I think just watching wrestling in general is like really helpful. What else? Yeah, I mean, like even day-to-day things that I might get inspiration from, like now that I've kind of entered into the pro wrestling world, literally everything is pro wrestling. Like I'll be watching something on the TV and I'll be like, that's really cool. My notes in my phone is like just so long. Like I have, you know, ideas about promos and just like all of these things that just like on day-to-day life I get inspiration from. Maybe it's someone just walking down the street, or you know, something that I'm seeing or whatever. Maybe it's the way someone's dressed that gives me ideas. Just like everything in life, to be honest. It's all, yeah.
Now at the WOW facility, which is I've heard it's amazing several times. So, you know, WOW, whenever you want me to come down and check it out. But Tessa's over there. Is there any advice that Tessa has given you or shown you as far as advancing in your wrestling career?
Yeah. So when Tessa first started wrestling, and I believe she's you know, pretty somewhat open about it, but you know, she obviously going into wrestling and being, you know, who she is and her father and, you know, all of that, she got a lot of heat. Like she got a lot of you know, just like expectations straight away. And it's like, you know, when she first started wrestling, and there were girls who were mean to her and, you know, stuff like that. And when I first came into wrestling, I actually had, you know, for my first like 6 months, I didn't have the best experience. Like I did have a lot of kind of just you know, negativity or just a little bit of heat, you know, and all of that. And she kind of, you know, we actually, she was someone who I felt comfortable talking to about, and yeah, that conversation kind of changed everything, changed my perspective on it, and it kind of motivated me to just keep going, and you know, that I'll get better, and everyone starts somewhere, and even Tessa Blanchard started somewhere, and The Undertaker started somewhere, and, you know, and like, you know, you're not great when you have your first match. Like it's not, you're not, you know, Superwoman. I'm not Superwoman kind of thing. So, yeah, for her, like I won't go into the details, but you know, there were definitely some words said and shared with me that kind of just got my mindset in the right place. And yeah, after that, I just kind of was just like, stuff you all. I'm gonna be great. You'll see me in 2 years. You'll know who I am.
Yeah,
so
wrestling
I'm just gonna go out there. I'm gonna work as much as I can, get as good as I can, and you'll all know me soon.
Absolutely. Wrestling is such a unique art form or sport because it's essentially theater in the round. And I know you mentioned in your first couple matches you were in your head, and I think a lot of us still have that. Was that a good show I did? Was those questions great? You know, can I say anytime in the first year you realize, like, I've arrived, like I am here to stay. This is me. This is awesome.
Yeah, definitely. I'm feeling really excited. And I think that if you're not somewhat in your head and you're not nervous and, you know, all of that before matches, then you really shouldn't be wrestling.
Oh, yeah. Boom. There it is.
Boom, she tells it.
Yeah, it means you don't care. It means you don't care.
Is there any dream matches that, you know, you're fairly new in your career? Is there any dream matches, like maybe a top 5 on your bucket list that you wanna have, people you wanna have matches with, guy or girl? Well, I shouldn't say living or dead because you want to have matches with them, so all alive.
When I started wrestling, like I mainly wrestled guys, and I love wrestling men and women. I think it makes me better, and you know, everyone wrestles differently, so it's all about just kind of, you know, putting in the work and you get better with everyone you wrestle and all of that. I think, you know, I definitely want to wrestle Tessa at some point. Maybe one day at WOW, we'll see.
Okay.
Yes. Who else? I think, you know, Charlotte Flair is incredible. I would love to wrestle her one day. I'd love to wrestle. Who else? You put me on the spot here. There's a lot of people, but it's hard kind of just pinpointing.
Right. There's so many names.
Yeah. It's like, oh.
Well, I mean, those are two really good ones, though. Yeah. So we can leave it at that. However, that leads us to rapid hot tags.
Women's Wrestling Rapid Hot Tags.
So I'm going to give you a question. You're going to say whatever comes to the top of your mind. So always early or always late? Always early or always late?
Always late.
What is the one thing you love about yourself?
I love my positivity.
Nice. Dream dinner guest, dead or alive?
Michael Jackson.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Oh, and Prince.
And Prince.
Same time.
At the same time, yeah. I think they had beef, but I don't know. Last show you binge watched?
Bachelor in Paradise.
Nice.
If you were a crayon, what color would you be?
I'd be purple.
And if you can listen to one album for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Oh, God. I feel a lot of pressure right now.
Hot tag.
Either one of Prince's or, you know what, Beyonce. Any one of them.
All right, we'll take it. Yeah, Beyonce. Probably Lemonade, because that just takes you through all the emotions.
Yeah.
Wow.
Thank you so much for joining us. Where can people find you?
You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook. It's going to be Simone Sherie, S-I-M for Mary O, Sherie, S-H-E-R-I-E, on Twitter or Instagram, or Facebook, Simone Sherie, S-I-M-O-N-E, Sherie, S-H-E-R-I-E.
And then the dates for WOW and the air dates for WOW, have they announced that yet?
Yes, so we just started airing season 2. This is definitely the season that you should keep up to date with. Princess Aussie's character and story is really cool. I think we're on episode 3 or 4 this Saturday.
Okay. On Access TV. Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming on. Hopefully next time when you guys have WOW, like there'll be when I'm finally ready to go, it's gonna be like in a different state or something. But hopefully when you guys finally have WOW, when you have WOW again, I am able to see. I'm really we've interviewed a lot of girls from WOW, and I've loved to see just where everybody's going. So I'm looking forward to the rest of your career. I'm seeing positive things.
Oh, thank you. I'm really excited. You're all going to have to come to the next season. I think February is the next season.
All right, sounds good.
That would be fun.
Sounds good. We'll make it a team thing. Thank you so much. Now we're going to... Aussie. Now we're going to hit the news real quick.
Cool.
AfterBuzz TV News.
A lot of news happening in the world of women's wrestling. Number one with a bullet, WWE Raw Women's Champion Becky Lynch has signed on to be in the animated feature Rumble, co-starring Roman Reigns. Becky Lynch will be in this animated feature. It's also co-starring Will Arnett and Terry Crews. And my personal hero, Tony Danza, is going to be in this film. Yeah, that's
Tony
right.
Danza?
Yeah, he's the world's last Renaissance man. He's an actor, he's a boxer, he's a teacher. What can he do? Coming in 2020, Rumble is set in the world where monster wrestling is actually real, and the main character by the name of Winnie is trying to train this underdog like monster to be the next champion. So
Is it like $1 Million Baby or something like that?
Well, I hope it's like a lot
But
more
there's
lighthearted.
robots? Are there robots?
No, they're monsters. It's like
Monster,
Pokemon meets real
Pokemon.
steel. Like
Okay,
you're actually
okay.
like Pikachu, I
Okay.
choose you. So Becky Lynch just got in their voice in
Pikachu,
there.
I choose you.
And
Okay.
it's
Yeah.
it's animated, right?
It's animated,
Paramount Studio
Oh,
animation.
okay.
Yeah, it's
All
for
right.
sure.
So-
In production for Paramount. So I like Becky's voice. I think she would totally lend herself to a very cool animated character. What do you guys think?
Yeah, and I mean, Becky can do no wrong right now. She
Right.
could,
She's
yeah, there's so much. She has that ESPN commercial. I know everybody's really not big into commercials, but I was actually like watching like TV for real today.
Like a
For
real,
the-
like a real television?
like a real television on real cable for the first time in like years.
God.
And I'm like, oh my God, it's Becky Lynch on ESPN because you know you have an ESPN background while
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
cleaning. That's just what you do. So like congratulations to her. She's been doing amazing. She was Becky Two Belts. She still has the belt. She has the commercial. She's engaged. She's living her best life.
she's living her she
Yeah.
totally is living her best life.
So I think that's only, you know, there's definitely a lot more that's going to be coming her way. And so the buildup is real.
And I'm excited to see what other movies WWE Studios is going to be coming out with.
Yeah,
this
I mean,
year.
they've been around for a long time. But
Yeah.
you
But
gotta keep
they're
trying.
kind of
Keep
switching
trying.
up a bit.
Yeah.
Moving on, Maurice and The Miz welcomed their second child. So congratulations to Maurice. Madison Jade Mizanin was born the 20th of September at 8:02 a.m. at 7 pounds 15 ounces. That is a big
Damn.
baby. That's a huge
7
baby.
pounds? That's a little nugget.
Yeah, is it?
Yeah, that's a little nugget.
Okay,
I think.
I was like, I was 8 and change, but I don't have no idea.
You were 8 and change.
I was 8 and change, you know, I was a heavyweight. Mother and daughter are doing well. That's number 2 for them. So congratulations. on that.
great, yeah.
Yeah, it's nice to see, you know, couples, wrestling couples, TV couples, just couples in general, like showing. I covered their show for AfterBuzz. I think the first 2 seasons, maybe 3. I don't know. But seeing love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And seeing, you know, really like committed relationships.
Yeah.
So, you know, congratulations to them.
Beautiful thing.
Yeah, kids. How about that? Moving on, Diva
what that
Dirt reports that Scottish wrestling talent Viber, a.k.a. Piper Niven, has a big announcement. She went to social media on September 23rd to announce to the world that she is bisexual on Bi Visibility Day. Diva Dirt reports on Bi Visibility Day, also known as International Celebrate Bisexuality Day, is taking place in 1999. It's a day where people can express themselves within the community and its culture, and Piper Niven took the opportunity to step up to be recognized. This important day is just weeks before National Coming Out Day in the U.S., which is October 11th. So congratulations to Piper Niven.
Yeah, congratulations. She's had a she's having an amazing career. I believe she signed with NXT.
NXT UK. Yeah.
You saw her in Mae Young, 2 seasons
Yeah,
ago or
2
something like
seasons
that?
ago.
They should bring back Mae Young, but you know,
They should. I was wearing the shirt.
Yeah.
Piper always tends to break down barriers, and this is another one for her. So congratulations to that.
Yeah, amazing wrestler.
And finally tonight, Lisa Marie Varon is a champion in her last match, a.k.a. Tara, a.k.a. Victoria, one of the OGs, is actually hanging up her boots. This comes from Squared Circle Sirens. TNA's Tara, a.k.a. Victoria, will wrestle her retirement match against Melina Perez, Melina. And this match, she defeated her, became the first ever, quote, Masters of the Ring women's champion, a belt that Terry Runnels presented her with. So congratulations on a storied career, Miss Victoria.
Nice, congratulations. We need to get her on the show. So here's what you do. If you're watching the show, just tag her, because I think I have hit her up, or somebody's hit her up. But
Social
just tag
media
her.
or in person? Like,
Well, yeah, you could tag her in person, not just softly.
hey, do the show.
Just
Tag her in person, and then hit her up on social media. Let her know we want her on the show. It's one of those things where, you know, if you're not familiar with us, even though you should be, because we are the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet. You know, we're a platform for all women who are starting their career to who are retired or allegedly retired, or maybe sometimes retired. You're going to see next week what I'm talking about. But yeah. We're all about it.
That's the tease, y'all.
I know, right? Now let's get into the star of the week real quick.
Pro Wrestling Star of the Week.
That's right, it's time for Star of the Week, presented by CenterInCompany.com. Center In, look beyond the obvious. Today's Star of the Week is a competitor that is young, but is quickly making a name for herself. Savannah Stone, St. Louis-based grappler and current local freelance talent, has already made a name for herself both in the United States and Canada for her energy and her unpredictable persona. That's a quote, y'all. Also working under the moniker of Vanessa Floyd, she was introduced to the national audience in a feature match on Monday Night Raw just a few short years ago. Trained in the Elgin Training System Wrestling School, Stone has been featured as both a singles competitor and as a mixed tag competitor with her other half, the quote-unquote top 2 tag team, along with James Brady, which is also her boo thing. Coming up on September 28th, Stone will be wrestling at the Primetime Pro Wrestling Embassy Row event in Washington, D.C. Her effort in continuing to climb the ranks of women's wrestling is the reason why she is this week's Star of the Week. Love it.
Thank you so much, Flobito.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for watching. Without you guys, we wouldn't be the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet. If you're watching us on YouTube Live, make sure you hit us on the chat. We appreciate the questions. I think Shockwave was on there.
Oh, yeah, Shockwave.
We appreciate the questions, all that good stuff. And if you are not subscribed, hit that subscribe button on AfterBuzz Wrestling and Sports. If you're listening to us on iTunes, Spotify, all that good stuff, give us 5 stars because that's the only thing we accept.
5 stars all the time.
5 stars all the time, because that is how you make us the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet. And we are at AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, Flobito.com, where can people find you?
They can find me on Twitter at Flobo Boyce, on Instagram at Flobito, and of course, Flobito.com.
The Kings County cook kid from Kenya.
There's no cooks in Kenya.
And the farmer's daughter hailing from the valley in Los Angeles, Emily May. I don't really know. She's not the farmer's daughter.
No,
but
she's just making stuff up.
It's going to be something totally different.
How many farms in the valley?
So you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Emily May. See, I messed it up. Emily May, M-A-E, Heller. Catch me, shout outs,
farming,
whatever. Farming. Pictures of me farming.
Yeah. Going to Sprouts, that's where
Sprouts.
you farm. My name is TK Trinidad. You can follow me on everything at TK Trinidad. Again, thank you guys so much for joining us. Leave us those comments and who you want to see on the show next time. Till next week, guys. Ciao.
Bye.
From executive producer Kevin Undergaro, producer TK Trinidad, and me, Maria Menounos, we would like to thank you for tuning in to Women's Wrestling Weekly. To help TK, the crew, and women's wrestling in general, we ask that you subscribe, rate, and comment on Women's Wrestling Weekly at Apple Podcasts, and subscribe to our AfterBuzz TV wrestling channel on YouTube for this and other outstanding wrestling content. Buzz you later.